Hello, this is my playthrough video of my game modes that I've made for Advanced Engine Semester 2. Starting on the main menu screen, it's simple but I think it looks nice with the different colour buttons and the sound effects. I think they sound good. Just got a generic title, then just 3 buttons: play, options, quit. Quit quits the game, play plays the game, options opens the option menu. There's nothing in the option menu so I won't show you, it's just there because I think it makes the menu look a bit better. I think this menu will look better with a better background. With it just being a plain black image, it looks a bit boring. I could have got like a camera shot of a level and then added blur over the top to make it look a bit more interesting and just make it look more to an industry standard project. That would be something I would work on in the future. Moving on to the next menu, we have the game mode menu. Here we have the game mode, the select game mode, so it tells the player to select the game mode. Then we have the 3 game modes that I've made. We have the 3 buttons, then 3 brief descriptions of what the game modes are. We also have a back button that takes us back to the menu. If I were to make any improvements on this, it would be to add controller button so the player can choose how many players they have in the game, and also to spawn AI, because at the moment the AI are placed in the world and don't get spawned in the manager when it starts. So that would be something I could work on, and it would just improve my UI much better. Because if this game was packaged, you can't go into the blueprint and then change it, so you won't be able to add any more controllers to do testing and to play 2 controllers if you wanted to. Moving on, we'll start with the Payload game mode because I think it's the best game mode. Spent the most time working on it, and I think it's the best one out of all of them. This game mode consists of, you have 2 attackers, 2 defenders, which is a prototype. We have a payload and we have an endpoint and 2 checkpoints. We have a timer at the top, so when I move into the collision it moves the payload, when I come out it stops. There's some weapons here just to make it a bit more of a prototype, so you can shoot the enemies and kill them easier rather than just using the normal guns. You have a timer at the top. If the time hits 0 and the payload hasn't been delivered, the attackers will lose and the defenders will win. If the payload gets delivered before the time runs out, then the attackers will win. We have our first checkpoint here. I would have liked to do more with these checkpoints, do something with UI communication, because at the moment they are just a checkpoint on the floor. But I do think they still work well. I would have liked to make the map much better. If I continue to working on this, I would improve the map. I did research into all different Overwatch payload maps, and I think King's Row would have been the best map to do, so I would have remade that or made my own payload map. With this only being a prototype map, it doesn't matter too much. It just demonstrates how the payload mechanic works and that you can actually make it around the map and to the point. I would also work on the spline because, as you can see, it is a bit not exactly in a straight line sometimes, it's a bit all over the place. It was the first time using the spline, so I didn't 100% understand how they worked, but now I have a much better understanding after doing this project. Now we're coming into the enemy side. You can see the AI moving around. They don't actually fight each other because I haven't got that programmed in yet. That would again be something that I would improve on in the future. Then when the payload reaches the payload before the time runs out, we get the attackers win UI. So the attackers win, then we can choose to have a replay or exit. In this case I'm going to exit. It takes us back to the main menu, so that's the payload game mode. I didn't have that many problems with the payload game mode, it all kind of worked fine. It was probably the easiest one to make out of all of them. The next we'll do the capture one. So this is working on the capture points that were shown to us in the week slides, and I think was it week 6, week 7, one or the other. So adapted those and made my own game mode. You can see that this one has much more UI. So it has the player, the attackers 1 points and attackers 2. The aim mode of this game mode is to capture capture all the points. So you can see that I've captured 1 and the big game mode's got up at the top. Again, I would demonstrate with the defenders, but it's hard to because they're not actually on another controller. So to test, I had to go into the blueprint and change the defenders. So it's hard to show it in this gameplay because they're not in the Xbox controller, so I can't have another input. There are pickups around the level to so the players can get better weapons, fight, heal, and actually fight over the points. That will be something to work on because, like I say, the AI don't actually attack each other. Then if I collect the last point, will come up as Team 1 wins, and I can choose to replay, play another round. I did want to include a round system. That's something that I planned on including, but I just didn't get around to working on implementing that. So if I were to continue working on this, I would implement that. And then the exit takes us back like the other one. Again, didn't have that many problems with the capture menu. The capture point, the hardest thing was probably to get the UI to communicate with the game mode itself and update when the player captured a point, but that was about it. Apart from that, it was easy. Moving into the last game mode is the TDM game mode. The TDM game mode is the last because it's probably the most bland out of all of them. I spent most of my time trying to get the AI to work. Originally, the problem with the AI was that I couldn't get them to spawn in. I had 3 problems with it. The first time was the teams weren't assigning properly, so I had to get that fixed. Then the spawns weren't working. Then I had another problem where the spawns weren't working again. It took me a while to get that fixed. So you can see that the timer as this doesn't exactly work properly as well. I'm not 100% sure why, because it's exactly the same time as a payload, but in this game mode it chooses not to work. The AIs can move around, but they just do choose to stand still most of the time. I'm not sure why. You can see that the attackers move around a lot more than the Team 1 move around a lot more than Team 2. I think that's mainly because of the nav mesh. I built a nav mesh, but the map has got a lot of geometry that can be hard for the AI to move. This is a simple remake of Shipment about all the inside of the containers. It's just a lot more easy to navigate and just a good demo for the map. I would have liked to get a score point working that Red showed in the videos, but unfortunately I couldn't get it implemented properly in time. And that would have made this game mode much better, because at the moment there's not really a win or loss condition, so it's not actually a properly played game mode. It's just a basic prototype with some AI moving around and just a timer. So I feel like this game mode does really let me down for the work that I've done, but I thought I'd include it anyway because it's what I've been working on, and it's good to have the game modes to move between and show that I can move between the maps on the button clicks. But apart from that, that's pretty much it for my game. There's a lot that I would like to improve on. So if I were to work on this in the future, there's AI will be a huge one, working on AI so they can fight each other, so they can attack other actors in the world and like say defend them, say attack the flag, attack the payload and stop it if you're a defender, attack it if you're an attacker and escort it. And just the AI, and like say the AI in general could use some work. The UI could use some work, adding in timers and scores and further just AI in the payload. But yeah, that's it. That's my project for Advanced Engine Semester 2. Thank you.